right, welcome to the show. A show where everybody has something to plug. All right, first, the drummer and songwriter for the rock group Rush, the producer of this new album, Burning for Buddy, a tribute to Buddy Rich. Neil Peart is right here. Thank you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
All right. A four-time Emmy Award winner as a writer on the original, folks, Saturday Night Live. Not that crappy thing that's on now. His most recent book is Bunny Bunny, a collection of remembrances of his friend Gilda Radner. Mr. Alan Zweibel is right here. Thanks, Alan. A comedian who has made his mark in both television and the movies. He's had roles in Car Wash and Hollywood Shuffle, as well as appearances on The Tonight Show and David Letterman. Nothing to plug, Mr. Franklyn Ajaye.
All right, how you doing, bro?
Hey, pal.
How you doing, man?
Good to see you.
Thank you.
And finally, a former contributor to The New Yorker and Rolling Stone. She's the author of this much-talked-about, truly, book called Prozac Nation. Elizabeth Wurtzel, right here.
Prozac Nation.
Hey, thank you. Join the men in the parlor. Okay, panel, let's get to issue number one. Take a look at any bestsellers list, and I'm not including you on this these days, and you'll find both the Nicole Simpson biography, right, and the Pope's new book, each of which dwells quite a bit on sex and, surprisingly, shopping for hats in Brentwood.
Does the Pope
he wears big hats. Anyway, but these two successes, side by side, may simply mean that even the Pope has become pop culture, which may explain why he often quotes from the Rick James version of the Bible. The point is, when the bestseller list is always topped by a comedian or Howard Stern, when the New Yorker magazine puts out a fashion issue, when supposedly respected network journalists pursue any lurid angle in the O.J. Simpson case in primetime news shows, it means that the people we used to look up to are now pandering down to us. In short, pop culture is now the only culture we have. Anybody think I'm right or wrong about that, Alan?
I didn't understand it.
I mean, Franklyn? You didn't understand it? Roll that back.
No, I didn't.
We're saying people are getting stupid.
Yeah, well, I do think people are getting stupid, and I've noticed that. I was a comedian for 20 years, you know, and I've noticed...
You've been doing this 20 years?
Yes, 22.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, I'm black, so I haven't aged that much, so, you know. You know, I remember when I was in college, I went to go hear Dick Gregory and Richard Pryor, and part of going to hear a comedian was to be smart. You wanted to hear somebody very, very smart.
Right.
You know, that was part of it. Now, I think that you're just going for the joke and you don't remember what they're saying. So I do think we have gotten dumber. I've written on TV shows where clever lines never got on the show because they'd say, no, the audience will have to think about that.
Oh, you want to work here?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, do you think Saturday Night Live, I mean, for example, you were there in the early days, you think that's a sign of the times with this?
With this, I don't know. I think that this is purely evolutionary and it's cyclical at the same time. I think that with the new media, with the stimuli coming...
I'm sorry, I have a bad intention.
We were talking about the dumbing of America.
The
dumbing of America.
Cyclical? You think it's been this dumb before?
I think it had to have been. I imagine cavemen were pretty not real smart, don't you? What'd they do all day?
Well, yeah, right. You're right. He's right about that.
All I'm saying is that there's a new technology out there where stimuli and MTV and all this stuff that's coming through the screen bombards you, and I think you have no choice but for attention spans to be reduced. However, how much smaller could they possibly get? I mean, I'm a firm believer that the pendulum will come back this way, and people will start relaxing a little bit. Otherwise, we're just going to spin around and take off.
I know. I don't know how much more shallow the culture can get. I saw this movie Loaded Weapon the other day, and they were referencing Wayne's World. As if that is a classical reference.
Anyway, it's too facile to say that people are getting dumber, but the expectations change?
Yeah, facile.
Too many syllables?
Facile. Facile ball. Is the last time I'd heard that.
But really, you know, human nature or human potential doesn't change that fast. But the expectations do, and the monitors by which we measure ourselves do, I think, too. So sometimes people look up to heroes and they want to be better and they want to be smarter, and they'll watch something that's maybe too smart for them, hoping that they'll get something from it and elevate themselves. Whereas if you watch something that's dumber than you are, it's no threat. In fact, it's an affirmation. It's saying, well, Beavis and Butthead are so stupid, I'm not that stupid.
Right.
You know, and people do affirm themselves with negative stereotypes.
Well, does anyone watch Beavis and Butthead seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody thinks it's ironic. I don't think. Yeah.
Right. That is not an example. You're right.
I mean, it's all these things that people choose as like signs that people are getting stupider. It's always a lot of smart people sitting around thinking that they're acting like stupid people watching them. I mean, that's more of a concern, is that there's that going on. Like there's that magazine, The Modern Review, which is smart people writing about really stupid stuff, and that whole trend, I think, is something to be more concerned about.
About stupid stuff.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to do it, but there are people who I think it really is. It's like this thing. If you're a really geeky, smart person, it kind of is a way of reliving age 7, and this time doing it the cool way. Maybe?
Or superiority, a pandering aspect and superiority. I'm smart. I'm so smart I can do this and laugh at it. You know, other people will take it seriously.
Whitney, you were in college recently, I would imagine.
Yeah.
What did you major in college?
Literature.
Okay, because I talk to kids all the time when I do my little act, and usually what do you major in? Film, communications, TV, radio. It's like when I was in college, that was like the extra fun course you took. Now they don't take their meat and potatoes, these kids.
Well, that's not
you know what I mean?
It's unacceptable. Those should not be things you can major in at universities in this fair country. And the fact that it is shameful and awful. But that's a whole other discussion, right?
I mean, yeah, it is an other. But people think that when they go to movies that aren't a really stupid movie, that is culture. Whereas again, movies should be the supplementary diet.
Movies are culture. Great movies are as good as any kind of literature or anything else.
House Party 3.
They should be a supplement to books. I mean, it's like when you in school, if you read the Monarch Notes or the Cliff Notes, you should read it with the book, not in replacement of the book.
Well, you should read Shakespeare and not go see the play. I mean, that doesn't necessarily wash.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that you're saying that you should read the book and that's a separate experience from the film.
No, this guy Shakespeare you mentioned. I had
he was the Neil Simon of his day.
Yeah, I know. I wish I could continue on this, but I can't, because next up, if God didn't mean us to drink, how come he invented those hats with beer cans on the side? All right, welcome back, and issue number 2. Of all the things they don't have today that they had 20 years ago, Ed Sullivan, disaster movies, afros, Ted Kennedy's presidential hopes, the Bee Gees, and, of course, real breasts. The thing I miss the most is drunks. We don't have any drunks anymore, just alcoholics, which is a shame because drunks were great. Drunks were funny. And that's why so many beloved show business figures in the past became beloved by playing drunk, like W.C. Fields and Foster Brooks and Otis on Andy Griffith and Yeltsin. These people brought laughter to millions, but then certain Grinches stole that. And people who make the rest of us feel guilty for laughing at things that are funny are nothing more than Grinches who steal enjoyment from everyone because they had a problem with something. Well, we all have tragic associations with something. Even a chicken can be made tragic if your father was killed choking on an egg. Drunks are funny. I say we bring them back and let Dudley Moore have a career again. What do you think about...
I'm certainly with you on that. I grew up with Otis, and I grew up with the Jackie Gleason show and Crazy Guggenheim and all that, and I always thought it was funny. I have to think it's part of our culture's victimization syndrome, that suddenly it's a terrible disease. It's not their fault. It's not their fault, and they're horrible victims. And
alcoholics are sad, but drunks are funny. No, Alan?
Yeah, there's a big difference. Even back in the days of the Three Stooges, if Moe, Larry, and Curly slept in the same bed, it was only because they didn't have rent. There was nothing else going on there.
You're
Now it's
saying that
slightly
today,
different. Yeah,
that would
well,
be seen as...
some people might. I don't, but you know.
You're saying three grown men sleeping in the
snoring
same bed.
in sync with each other. And the bed goes up into the wall. God knows what they do on the other side. It's because they had no rent.
Right. That's all it was.
It wasn't their fault.
Well, look at what would W.C. Fields be seen as today? He'd be seen as dysfunctional, the dysfunctional family. His wife hated him. He's a drunk.
He's an abuser.
He's an abuser.
Dogs and children.
He hates dogs and children. I mean, he wouldn't get a job in the business. He'd be Roseanne. All right. Quickly, you two have anything to add on this? If not, we're getting out of here.
Well,
Sorry, time is... No, I'm just kidding.
I don't remember any of these funny drunks. I feel deprived.
See,
being my age, all I remember are tragic drunks.
We have been deprived.
It's very, although I had a boyfriend who was a drunk, who was a tragic drunk, but I thought it was pretty funny when he would do things like knock the table over or, whatever. I mean, I found it kind of amusing, and get lost in Florida for days at a time and no one would be able to find him and things like that.
William Holden got drunk, hit his head on the coffee table, died. I mean, does it get any funnier than that? Anyway, I have some tapes I want to show you after the show. When we come back, we're going to play Who Has Time to Read? Okay, welcome back, and it's time to play Who Has Time to Read? Because in today's society, we don't have time to read, and yet there are so many fine books out there. Among them, look at this. Diana Ross's autobiography came out a few months ago, Secrets of a Sparrow. And look, I don't think celebrities should write books at all, because I think it should be illegal. Then people would read about Churchill and world leaders and Howard Stern. But the other thing that amazes me about celebrities, why I think it's a bad influence when kids read them, is that because they are celebrities, they think that everything that happens to them is an event because it's happening. Now listen, this is from the book. This is Diana Ross talking about her concert in Central Park. We all remember in 1983. I don't know how long I had been on stage when the darkness appeared. Time is suspended when I am performing. I know it's...
My watch stopped that night.
I believe Stephen Hawking is looking into this phenomenon. It wasn't long before that tricky wind blew up again. This time it blew so hard, it blew the sun right out of the sky.
That was a rough day.
That was
a terrible day.
First, the
I had a kite.
No time, no sun.
You'd think there would be a mention in the paper of that, Sun exits galaxy, CB1.
Pause and say run.
No time.
Solar system, now just system. Something.
Not a system, not moving.
No, not at all. Everything darkened. Suddenly, the sky was completely black, bewildering everyone, except those who have experienced nighttime. Apparently, it was just night.
Sun goes down.
By the way, she is the new weather girl over at CBS. And again, here's another passage which I just think points up the fact that things that the rest of us would seem not vital. She's talking about an episode when she was backstage with her husband, Arn. I hang back a moment and then say to him with a little blush, I can't button my dress. Could you ask my daughter, Tracy, to come and help me? Without hesitation, he says, quite matter-of-factly, I'll do it. You'd think he was rushing a machine gun nest.
Were they already married?
They were married. I don't know if they were married at this point. Good question, but it... Well, anyway.
Does he call her Diana? You think he calls her Diana at all?
I think he calls her Miss Ross.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, I know that syndrome. I'll do it. 3 little words. I don't know why I'm allowing this, but before I know it, I'm turning around, piling my hair on top of my head with my hands, with a machine. And a stranger is buttoning my dress.
Oh.
He starts at the top. As he clumsily tries to do up the buttons with his big hands, I realize the buttons go clear down to my bottom. a bulbous area at the top of my legs. I mean,
she just realized that.
Wait, he's a stranger? It's not her husband?
Well,
she feels he's a stranger.
He will become her husband because
he's buttoned her dress.
He reaches the middle of my back. He's having trouble with the buttons. I feel strange now. He says, I say to him, "It's all right. I can have my daughter do it." But this is a man who has just climbed Mount Everest.
Yeah, that again.
Yeah.
Button by button.
He is no quitter.
No.
Wait, did he really climb that? I want to know how much of this is metaphor and how much of this is real.
He planted a flag in her ass. I think so. That's what it says. It says...
That's a good...
This is a man who has just climbed Mount Everest. He is no quitter. He makes his way all the way down. He is finally finished. I let loose my hair, and we walk in to dinner together.
That is...
I can't go on, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank my guests, Neil Peart, Franklyn Ajaye, Elizabeth Wurtzel, and Alan Zweibel.